Greetings once more and welcome to another session of the training program or training tutorials of W language on Windev Mobile. I am K'Teck4Developers, your instructor. We will continue in our former class. In the former tutorials and webinar, we treated the creation of a project and we ended at the portion where we're expected to create the database. The step for the creation of a project or project creation, there are 6 in total. And in our former video, we're able to do description, source code management, guidelines, and internationalization. And in our video today, we are going to focus on databases. You can create a project without a database. That is the reason why the creation of database proposes 3 options. Creating a brand new database, using an existing database we may have created in other platforms, or creating without the use of a database. Now, assuming we want to create a database, so if we want to create a database, we are going to select create a new database. Yes, create a new database. Now, what are the databases supported by Webdev? The creation of the database in Windev is known as Windev or Windev Mobile. I'm sorry, is known as an analysis. So when you see analysis creation, know that you are creating a database, and it has 3 steps. First step, general point. Second step, database, and third point, end. So we are creating an analysis, and it's asking us the name of the analysis. For example, let me abbreviate the contact management system to CMS. Directory, which is location. I explain that first. Now, there is one unique database provided by Windev Mobile or pieces of product. It is the Hyperfile SQL. The Hyperfile SQL, that is HFSQL. You have the classic, you have the client server mode. Then you have the SQLite. You may have been a perfect developer or a database analyst, a database developer in the SQL domain, like the SQL Server, the SQL Azure, the Oracle, MySQL, MariaDB, Informix, IS400, DB2, Sybase, Progress. So it gives you the possibility to incorporate them. So if you had one already, you just need to select and link it here. Okay. What is the difference between the HFSQL Classic and that of a client server? With that of the client server, uses the client server engine, which we are going to see in one of our classes. Okay, classic information, require analysis successful. Okay, with this now, okay, as we were saying, we have successfully gone through the steps. So now it is time to actually create a database. One thing you should note is that in pieces of product, we call the database an analysis, and we call the tables that constitute the analysis a data file. So tables here are known as data files. Why the database is considered as an analysis. In the creation of a data file, which is a table, you can create a new description, or you select the description among preset data files, or you use the data files of another existing database. I may have created another database which is an analysis, and I came in another app and I need some files which I use in the previous database. All I need to do is not to create again, it's to select what I want. Now, creating a new data file from zero. What is the name we want to give our first data file? Remember, we said we're doing a contact management system. So our first Our first data file, which is our first table, will be contact. Contacts. A contact. You can see a record is represent one contact. Once I take next, he asks me the one I want to choose. Remember, I explained that the difference between the HFSQL Classic and HFSQL Client Server is that the client server has the client server engine. Okay. Why the HFSQL Classic run on a single user file? Let me explain what it means in details. Okay, as I was saying, let me explain in detail. With the HFSQL Classic, you have local network or single user file. With this, it means that it is mostly contained in a particular application only, in a particular device, one device only. So when an app is in a classic mode, it means that it's in a local network. Remember the word local. But if you want to have the possibility to synchronize it through the internet, where others that has the application inter devices will be like a client, then you have a central device that control it, that is a server. Then you'll be forced to create a table in the client server mode. Now, assuming we remain a classic for this first example, you get to your last step, information required to be created successfully. You go, you see that permit me closes. This cap automatically, but I want to remove. You see that a table we have created, contact. This is a table contact we have created. And it is, remember, if you remember, you remind me, how do we call it again in a data file, in an analysis? It is called a data file. It is a table in a relational database, but here we call it a data file. And if you look carefully, you are going to observe that above here you have logical data model. Logical data model. Okay. Now, LDE is logical data models, and Windev Mobile functions. It functions using uh, 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 using the Maries. It functions using the Maries, so it is more of a Maries methodology. Now, and you remember the Maries methodology has a greater focus on the database development. Now, assuming we have what we have in front of us here, what you're going to observe is that this is our table. To add attribute or fields into these tables, I double click on the table, it comes, or you remember our format, you right click and description of items or description. When you take description of data file, it gives you the possibility to rename the data file. See, if initially you give the name to the data file contacts and you want to change it to contact without S or another name, you right click, you take description of what data file. That is it. It gives you this is the name, so you can change the name here and give many more details. But if I want to add but the elements, the fields, I think the description of items, not data file. I think description of items, to see it brings me exactly to where if I double click it's going to take me. So okay. If I double click, it takes me directly also to the same position. Okay. Now this is what we're gonna do now. If I right click, I take create a new data file. This is going to go to the creation of data file. For now, it's not necessary. We're going to come to it. Now, let me go and add fields. For a contact, what are the basic things we can save in a contact? We can save the name of the person. We can save the date of birth. We can save the place of birth. We can save the address. And we can save telephone. Now, there is what we call data dictionary. What's a data dictionary? The data dictionary composed of a file that stipulates the name of what we are doing, the file, the mnemonic, here is the caption. And then you have the type of data you can keep and the size of data you can hold. We have the name here, for example. The first name is what? Contact ID. When you see the contact ID here, what is the meaning of ID? Contact ID is the name, but what caption does it hold is what is reflected here. You see right here, what is written here as what? Identifier of contact. It means that that is what it means. The same thing, date, DOB means date of birth. So I could come here and put date of birth. I need to take note from between name and caption. Place of birth. Okay. Now, Windev or databases have generally many data types. And what are the data types that Windev Mobile support or Windev support or the analysis provided by pieces of support? If I come to name, for example, and I click on this drop down arrow, you see that it accept text, it accept what again? Currency, time, sound image binary is when you want to keep a picture, checkbox, automatic ID, full text index. You see, these are all the data types that it accepts. Since we are dealing with somebody's name, obviously text is the right choice. And what is the size? 50. But we'll put 50 here means that the maximum number of characters that you can input from name is 50. And note that when the size is too big and is not used, it occupies space in the database for nothing. That's why I say most people put 25 to limit you for the number of names you can provide. Date of birth obviously is a date and not a text. So we're going to change the data type to date. And date is automatically having a particular size, which you don't need to touch. Place of birth is obviously a text, but we'll put it like 10. Address is obviously text, but I'm putting like 12. Telephone number is numeric. I know it's numeric, but 0 to 9 is not what our normal telephone number stands. The normal telephone number stands for plus. So the plus now is not numeric. The plus now is alpha. So that way, so you can leave it text and we'll control it maybe for it to have like 12 characters. Okay. So this is the first table in which we have created. I'm going to explain something very important now, which we are going to understand. Okay, as I was saying, after this, there's one very important aspect we must master here. Each table or data file is uniquely identified, and each record kept in a data file is uniquely identified by a primary key. And if you look carefully here, our primary key here, you see key, right? Our primary key here is contact ID. But the ID can never be a substantial manageable primary key. So what do we need to do? We can create another field called matrix, for example, or identifier, anyone want to put. And we can give the size maybe even 7 so that we control, we can mix it. Now, how do we make it a primary key? Once it is selected, as it is selected, on this other portion of the screen, you have general, and under here you have key. You can specify unique key. You see, you have 2 keys inside this table. 2. But if I don't want this one to be a key anymore, I select him and then I come and remove. Okay, since it was there by default, unique key, no. And since it cannot go here, I can easily just delete it if I don't need it. So you see that this becomes my key and I can shift it. Look at this one. When I click, it goes up at once. When I click, it comes at once. But if I want to go a bit, you see I can be shifting it. Once I take this, it means go above everybody. And this go below everybody. So that is our key. Matrix becomes our new key. It means each record, when I mean record, it means each information about a particular contact which is going to be saved is going to have a separate matrix code that will uniquely identify that particular contact. So, but we could still not use matrix code. Let me explain why. Can two people have the same telephone number? No. If they cannot have, it means that the best ID we're supposed to use here is what? Telephone number. So we can decide to have a matricule, or we have a telephone number as a key. So that two people don't have the same telephone number, because our idea is to keep a contact. But the reason why I'm not using telephone number is because uh, a particular contact can be saved under, let's say, family at the same time as a business partner. So, but if it's a unique key, you might have some difficulties in managing that. Let's just leave it for now and go ahead. Once you are done, you click on it. You click on this, you click on that tick, and it gives you the data file. So this is our first table, or our first data file created in the. And since we know that our contacts have categories, we can dwell more on the linkage. Let me give you an example. Here is where you create a new data file. And remember, create a data file, give us a name, category, category, a category, chaos. Now, what are the things we want to keep under the category? We want to keep the name, because the category has a name, and the name of the category, okay, see, they're telling me that there's already another string in contact called name. So here I'll need to change here and put the cat name under the name. Then here remain names. You see, rename the item in this data file only. Yes, because I'm in this data file alone. So the error was here. You don't put name under contact, and then you come here again put name. So if you put name under contact here, you can put cat underscore name at the level of the name, but the caption is what is going to be seen. Remember, I explained that before. And what is the name? 50 is too much unnecessary size. Let's say maximum of 10. I will make him the primary key, because two people should not have the same name. And this one, we don't need him, of course. Okay. Now, each contact can have a category. But now we are going to be applying the normalization rules to see what will be the linkage between the contact and the category. This is new link here. I click on the link. I click from contact to category. I allow ad hoc. It gives me the possibility to have a description of the link. And if you remember the four normalization rules, the first rule says if the relationship is one-to-one, all you need to do is to transfer all the fields of one table to the other. If it's one to many or many to one, the primary key of the table with many should migrate to the table with one. But if it is a many to many relationship, then a new table is created in between. PCSolve implements that directly in the creation of a database. The first question is, each contact has at least one category. Is it yes or no? It is yes. But now the problem why we should allow no is because let our minimum cardinalities be 0, 0, so that we can solve integrity constraints errors. It's good initially you should put 0, 0, because if you say each category has at least a contact, it means each time you're saving it, you're creating a category, you're adding it to a contact, which may not be true. So the advice here is that let your minimum category cardinality be what? 0, 0, unless you're in an exam which is specified by the equation. But in a professional development, let your minimum cardinality be 0, 0. Okay. Okay, as we were saying, first of all, I insisted that let your minimum cardinalities be 0. It's advisable for you to work with the major cardinalities, because integrity constraints on Mary's development, though you focus on the logical data model or the conceptual and logical data model, there are what we call also data constraints. There are some restrictions that you put in your database that worries even you, the developer. The next is a contact can have several categories. True or false? Is it true? It is possible for a contact to have several categories, yeah. But normally, in normalcy, if you are classifying contacts in categories, you belong to one. It can be business, then you have maybe super business partners, medium business partners. So by normalcy, a category should have one, a contact should have one category. We are going to handle the gymnastic of many in our subsequent videos. But a category obviously should have many contacts now. True or false? Because you can have many business people, many families, and the other. So obviously a category can have many contacts. Now, what is the caption I want to put? Let's say belongs or has. By Mary's normalcy, what does it mean? Since it is a one-to-many, it means that the primary key of category is supposed to migrate to contact by virtue of the normalization rule. Let's see if that will happen. Here they are asking, okay, what name do we want to migrate? Cat name. You remember cat name was a primary key of what? Category. Okay. Take name, create a new key called cat name. Cat name is going to migrate from here to here. Good. Now, this is what we call integrity rules. This is what I was saying. This is one of them. There's integrity constraints, and then there's integrity rules. The integrity rules ensure that there is consistency when you are modifying your data or deleting it. Deletion rule for one category. There are so many here. But when I take second, it means delete the category and all the content. The first was forbid deletion. If you don't change it, it means that when you create the content, you cannot delete it again. Somebody cannot. But when you choose delete the category and all his contact, it means if I don't want a category, I can delete it goes. But if I want to delete the category and assign the contact default one to his category, it means if I don't want a category, I will delete the category. But all the numbers saved under that category will be assigned to the first category that will be left. The last will say no constraint, delete the category and keep his contact. So it depends on what you want. But me, I always wonder when I delete the category, it goes with this contact. So your choice will be yours. Modification also. When I modify, it should modify also all your contacts. So it depends how you're going to see your own. But these are called integrity rules. With this successfully created, this is it. So this is a database we have successfully created. I know you will have many more problems, but this is the first of 4 videos for the creation of database. So just stay tuned. We are going to view and see more what it takes to effectively manage a database. Till we meet again, I say ciao.